Lightweight, step at the side when we coming. Feel it in your chest, the syllables get pumping. People on the street get panic and start running. Words on loose leaf sheet, complete coming. I jump on my mind, I summon the rhyme I'm dumping. Healing is blind, I promise to let the sun in. Sick of the dark ways, we march to the drumming. Jump when they tell us that they want to see jumping. Dad, I want to see some fist pumping. List something, take back what's yours. Say something that you know they might attack you for. Cause I'm sick of being treated like I have before. Like a stupid standing for what I'm standing for. Like this war's really just a different brand of war. Like it doesn't cater to...
All right, welcome to Wide Awake Radio. I am your host, Charlie McGrath. It is the 7th of February, Monday, day after the Super Bowl. But like most talk shows, we're not going to spend the entire hour talking about the grandiose Gladiators in their game yesterday. I will say real quick, because I know a lot of people are football fans, and there's nothing wrong with enjoying entertainment. So congratulations to all you. Well, if there's any Green Bay fans out there, congratulations. Here's the thing. It is snowing. I mean, most people know I'm in Montana. It is snowing. It's unbelievable. I mean, we're in the middle of a blizzard right now. So I'm saying that first and foremost because if I lose connection tonight, it's going to be because of we've had power issues off and on for the last several hours. Because of this ridiculous blizzard that's coming through here. And my entire body right now is a giant ice cream headache because I've been out shoveling about a foot and a half of snow that fell inside of about an hour and a half. So bear with me. If it cuts out, I apologize. I had to make the decision to run a rebroadcast because of weather or just to go for it. And since Warren called and inspired me to watch his last video, which I'm a little upset with him because I started watching that 15-minute video, and then I had to watch the 12-minute video that he put out prior to that. So for the last half hour, I've been watching Warren Pollock videos, and if you haven't seen them, I think I dumped them both into the chat room already. Check them out because they're very inspirational, and I think they're very, very accurate. And we're going to bring Warren on here in just a minute. But one thing I'm going to talk to him about is, I'm assuming, I didn't read the comments, but I'm assuming Warren probably felt some attack from his views in this video. I mean, even on my latest video, or maybe it was even one of the radio broadcasts, I had mentioned something about Code Pink and supporting their effort to get our troops out of these litter boxes around the world in the name of protecting the profits of oil company and protecting a supply chain. And man, I got attacked. I have some comments posted over on my channel on YouTube that were pretty harsh because I'm supporting Code Pink and their Pinkos and Pinko commies or whatever the comment was. Ridiculous. More of the same regenerated left-right paradigm, the divide and conquer, smoke and mirror tactic. And it dawned on me over the week. It dawned on me, actually, towards the end of the Super Bowl yesterday that they were projecting, record views for the Super Bowl. And then it washed over me. Oh, my God, here we are. We've come full circle. We've come full circle in this collapse to where the public now has completely, for the most part, completely forgot about the reality that happened in this country 2 years ago. Let alone the last decade, and just in the last 2 years, they forgot about the biggest ripoff in the history of this planet. They forgot about the fact that Wall Street is happier and healthier than ever before, where we have more foreclosures, while we have more unemployment, while we have more dislocation, while we have more people on social safety nets than we've ever had. Even during the Great Depression, housing never fell as much as it's already fallen. And the people are stupefied in this country. They absolutely do not know it. There's only a certain group of people that realize it. There's the people in this community who tune into alternative media and who want to be awake. That number is unfortunately very small compared to the number of people who are actually having the weight of this crisis bear down on them like a 400-pound gorilla. And these are the people either the million-plus people who will get foreclosed on this year, they'll join the crowd who got foreclosed on last year. They'll join the 43 million people who are relying on government assistance and just to put food on the table, or they can talk to the millions upon millions who are doing a job now for half the money they used to do it in 2007, or cannot find a job at all, so they're doing part-time, maybe under the table cash work. This group is out there, but they don't have a voice. They don't exist. They don't exist because we live in a complete and utterly controlled circus. Period. Plain and simple. You want proof of this? All you have to do is look at the headlines on my website, wideawakenews.com, and you'll see that Huffington Post, regardless of how you feel, left, right, and don't send me the email saying they're a left-wing, blah, blah, blah. That is a trap. That's a game that you're playing when you subscribe to that mentality. If you're on the left or the right. There's no difference, guys. There's no difference whatsoever. The Huffington Post, while they were pit bulls when it came to George W. Bush, you could at least go over there and find some maybe a perspective and opinion that was outside of the mainstream. Not anymore, because for $315 million, AOL gobbled them up, and yet again we see, as soon as you become a voice that is damaging or threat to the status quo, you're gobbled up by one of the firms that controls 90% of the media that you get to listen to. So we've come full circle in this crisis. The Dow, 12,162 points today. The Super Bowl, more views than any Super Bowl in season. Christmas season just ended, and it's, prosperity is everywhere if you listen to the mainstream media. If you open your eyes and you look around the world, let alone around your neighborhood, you'll realize that you're being fed a bill of goods. And that's what I want to talk to Warren about, because I think the breakdown crisis is here, and it's not going to be seen until it knocks you over. You're not going to know you're in it until you're in it. And there is going to be no hope for the people who would just went along down the primrose path thinking that, hey, Dow's at 12,000, we're going to have a build-out of infrastructure, we're going to have these Wall Street titans, they're healthy now, so now it's our turn. And none of it's coming. What's coming our way is Egypt, Tunisia, Yemen, Greece, Portugal, Ireland. What's coming here is happening around the world. The unfortunate part is most Americans just don't get it. They've sold out. It's a form of selling out. When you exchange your perception of reality for a comfortable existence, for something familiar, you're selling yourself out. And you're selling our country out by doing that. If you go to my YouTube channel or my website and you start calling me ridiculous, lefty, righty, whatever you want to call me, you are selling out to the system that has left us where we are, which is broken and dying. But most people don't want to hear that. They want to shove their head in the sand. They want to enjoy the hilarious commercials on the Super Bowl, and they want to pretend everything is okay. But the day of reckoning is coming, and it's coming soon. Warren brilliantly pointed this out in his latest video, that the events are occurring with such speed and with such velocity, it's almost hard to predict what's coming next. And if you're accurate on that prediction, it comes true before you can even get the word out. So I want to get right into it with Warren, since he's holding on the line. Warren, I know you're on your cell phone tonight because you're having landline difficulties. Ladies and gentlemen, Warren Pollock from WEPollock.com, also from W.E. Pollock on YouTube. Warren, welcome back to the show once again. No Warren.
And my question is, what year will it be when we have all the snow and no heat?
Start over, Warren, because you came in with the first thing I heard was your question is what year, and then I didn't hear anything else. So,
well, I'm just wondering what year we're going to be snowbound, and there's not going to be the oil or the natural gas to heat your house, because that day is rapidly approaching us here in America. It's rapidly approaching us. The breakdown crisis is rapidly approaching us. And 11 years ago, almost to this day, I wrote an article which outlined exactly where we would be in the near future, and it took 10 years for that story to evolve to the point where it is today. And what scares the daylights out of me is that every prediction I've been making recently, it hasn't taken 10 years to come to fruition. These things are coming to fruition not even in a year time frame. They're coming to fruition within a 3-month time frame, or a 2-week time frame, or a 1-week time frame. So that tells me that the forecasting skills are still there, but what's happening is the events are being realized faster than before. So they could have hid the bankruptcy of Countrywide Financial for 10 years. You could look at the balance sheet. You could see that they're broke. People like the market ticker could take a look at the balance sheet, figure out that these companies are broke, and they could sit there for 5 years without these companies blowing up. Now, whatever you see that is non-functional is very close to collapse. And the United States is close to collapse. And in its wake, we have a population that wants to look backwards instead of looking forward. And they're using their backward ethos, backward-looking ethos. It's not a backward ethos. It's a forward-looking ethos in 1700s. But as of today, it's a backward-looking ethos. It's an ethos that's several hundred years old. It's a constitution that's no longer functional. It's several hundred years old. It's not being enforced by the Supreme Court. They scoff at it. It doesn't mean anything anymore. So you can look back.
Just by saying that, I mean, unfortunately, just by saying that, you end the conversation with a lot of people, Warren. Just by coming out of your mouth.
I don't care if I end the conversation. If they don't want to see the gorilla that's about to hit them with a baseball bat, then they don't want to see it.
Right.
I mean, it could be a part of this American Kool-Aid delusion. They're as guilty of the people that are going to work like debt slaves to look backwards and expect to see everyone being their own island in a resource-based economy and having a functional lifestyle. You are one disaster away from being dead. In this new reality that's about to come into the United States, mark my words, in 5 years, the average lifespan of someone in the United States won't be 75; it will be 60.
That's terrifying. All right, Warren, I
or
totally
55, or even 55, or even 50 in the next 7 years. You watch what the mortality rate of Americans becomes.
All right, we're talking to Warren Pollock. His latest video is that I want to get into. You probably heard me in the warm up there. I started watching that, and then I had to watch Pollock Zeitgeist. I missed these last 2 videos over the weekend. Well, actually, one of them just looks like it's not even a day old. The Lucifer Principle or the Fuller Model. Now, before we get into talking about this and Pollock Zeitgeist, I want to announce, if you're listening and you're not in the chat room, there's going to be a lot of good discussion, I think, in the chat room about this conversation. Go to wideawakenews.com, jump in the chat. I think we have close to 100 people in there now. So head over there, and after the break, maybe we'll take a few calls on it. Warren, in not 15 minutes and 55 seconds, but in 2 minutes, give me a quick overview of the Lucifer Principle or the Fuller Model, because I think this, honestly, Warren, I think this is one of the best videos I've seen you put out. So please give us a quick overview of it.
Well, it's sort of my book review of this book called The Lucifer Principle. And I don't necessarily agree with what it has to say, but some of the things which the book is saying are coming true before our eyes. And it talks about the fact that human beings are part of a superorganism, and that we are, in fact, cheaply replicatable units of the superorganism with no intrinsic value per individual, and that we are expendable containers, and that we follow these mass ideas that we have, and part of the mass idea that we have is to keep our hierarchy in place, and to sort of have this delusion that we all fit together nicely and we can individually prosper, but in reality, our value is zero, and the society's value is paramount, and it leads to all sorts of terrible decision-making. It leads to the death of a lot of people worldwide. It means that people in the entitled world can ignore all the people who are starving in the underprivileged world, the underprivileged world that we're going to be a part of in the United States on this current trend. And it was so interesting to me reading this book because near the conclusion of the book, it named 3 people that were the antithesis of the Lucifer principle. And these people were Carl Sagan, who I'm going to do a video on shortly, Buckminster Fuller, and Werner Erhard, who all had visions for human success in the context of a functional future. These people were forward-looking. The Lucifer principle talked about people being backwards-looking, talked about people clamping down on ideas which don't fit their idea of what the context looks like. The Lucifer principle talked about scapegoating, about blame passing, about robbing instead of fixing the problems. It talked about all government decisions being unworkable because they're done for the privilege of a very few. So we can see a lot of things in the Lucifer principle which look like they're coming true today. And one of the things that's the most shocking thing about the Lucifer principle, it says that as a country or a part of this organism becomes less functional, what they do is they look towards the past and they become devoid of possible solutions because they're not looking into the future. And that's exactly where you people in the United States are. Among the very few minority that are awake, they're all awake with the idea of restoring America to its past glory through fundamental values, or at least having a good lifestyle in the context of a government-free zone, in the context of a pure gold and silver money standard. And although I believe in gold is money and silver is money, and I think it would encourage settlement, these people have no idea of what the ramification of that would be. So why would you be entitled to gold or silver in the current world context? Why is your labor worth more than someone's in China? How come if you're in a resource-based economy, just what resources do you have? How long can you plant crops if Monsanto owns all the patents to your seeds? I mean, it's an amazing thing that the Americans want to look backwards and don't want to look forward. And this backwards-looking condition, according to the Lucifer principle, will be the demise of the people in this country. It will absolutely be the demise. And we can count.
You talk. Just listening. I just watched a video finished it just as the music started for this show. You talk about the things in this Lucifer principle as starting to come true. Warren, I see it as here. I mean, everything you said in that video, everything that you quoted from that principle is happening right now. I mean, every single thing you read off is what we live in right now. We have a society that is completely baffled. We have an upper echelon elite that is not addressing future problems. They're looking at the past. Now we've got this same upper echelon elite who have turned all of their problems onto the people themselves, and at the same time has the public convinced that they fixed the problem by making their failure public. And we're about to go into the final phase of that principle, like you said in your video again, not 5 years from now, not 7 years from now, months from now, maybe weeks from now. I mean, maybe there's something to Hillary Clinton gathering all the ambassadors together and having a meeting today. I've received several messages about that, and I'll be working late tonight trying to gather information and put out a video on that. But Warren, I mean, it is here. This is the principle that has guided this country. I mean, it was almost an epiphany watching this, because it's as if this was set in place how many ever decades ago. I mean, you can go back to the establishment of the Federal Reserve, or the attempt to centralize banks around the world, or you can go back as near as Ronald Reagan 40 years ago when we started seeing this globalism take root. But it's here. It's here, and it's in place, and not only is it far along, it's towards the end goal, which is as you just said, the decimation of population.
Right, and if you're thinking about it, what the Bush administration wanted to do was to ride out the wave and leave office as fast as possible. And the economy blew up just before they left. So we can count on the same thing happening in 2012, early 2013. That the odds are they're not going to be able to hold this disaster of an economy, this disaster of a human system, together with any kind of glue, and it's just going to become unglued into 2013 at the latest. I mean, we could be blindsided by an event at any possible moment. And when I think about the Lucifer principle, again, it goes against my grain to even talk in those terms. I finished the video with sort of the alternate view, a speech by Buckminster Fuller, which he gave in public access radio in 1975. The video before that, Pollock's Zeitgeist, well, I talked about the Zeitgeist movies, which was a solution set in some regards based on the Fuller model, because it's sort of stolen that idea. It doesn't matter who owns it, really, though. But I'm talking about Pollock's economic theory, where all of these constructs of our society are totally artificial. The fact that we get a driver's license is artificial. The fact that we use banks is artificial. The fact that we vote is artificial.
Hold on a sec, Warren. Hold on. I want you to start over again with what you ended that video with Buckminster Fuller, and then into the Pollock Zeitgeist video. We're going to take this one and only break. We'll be right back with Warren Pollock from WPollock.com, WPollock on YouTube. We'll take questions and maybe a few phone calls in the second half of the show. We'll be right back with more Wide Awake Radio. All right, welcome back to Wide Awake Radio. I'm Charlie McGrath, your host. My website's wideawakenews.com. We have, I think, around 90 people in the room. If you want to join them, wideawakenews.com, and then click on the Wide Awake Radio link, and you can join the good folks in there. Warren, I had to cut you off. You were talking about your last two latest videos, how you ended the first one with Buckminster Fuller, an interview he had done. And then you started to talk about the second one, so please recap and continue.
Well, I felt, when you're reading this book, The Lucifer Principle, and you see around page 318 or so, 319, that it has a paragraph saying, the future for mankind doesn't reside sort of in Buckminster Fuller's idea or Sagan's idea or Earhart's idea. It talked about humans potentially destroying themselves using nuclear weapons. That was in the context of that reference, but I expanded that reference to mean more than that. Basically, the Lucifer Principle said that as individuals, we have absolutely no value. And look at the labor arbitrage that we have between China and the U.S. Look at the fact that your labor is becoming worth less and less and less. And on aggregate, a human being's labor is worth less than it was before, even though wages are going up in China, they're going down in the rest of the world. With only 3% of the people in the world who actually have to be employed and have a job in this kind of context. And instead of just ending with that conclusion, I have to just say that we have a positive outcome if we want to look to the future, look to the Fuller model, look to some of Sagan's ideals, look to what Werner Earhart was talking about. And we need to understand that we have to save ourselves. Sagan said this: our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark, in our obscurity, in its all vastness. There's no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. It is up to us. And that's what Sagan was talking about. So when I see Sagan, Fuller, and Earhart quoted in the same sentence, that's what I think about. It's up to us to save ourselves. We can look backwards to days that are long past, and we'll find that we have no solution set in those ideas. Instead, we're going to have suffering as the Lucifer Principle takes hold to prevent us from moving forward to solutions. with each political decision being made worse than the one previous to it, in desperate hope of keeping this power structure in place and operable at your and my expense. And this time around, we are looking at a breakdown crisis similar to the Great Dark Ages. And that is the cusp of the abyss that we're looking into, and we have to avoid that at all costs. Now, go ahead, Charlie.
Well, I agree. And you and I referred to this as the neo-feudal time, which, avoided at all costs. How could I not agree more with you on that? But Warren, everything that is an indicator that we can look at indicates exactly the opposite of that. We're going to go into this, despite all the best wishes and best hope of you, me, and everybody else who we consider to be awake. It seems to be a foregone conclusion, and for the life of me, I wish I had more solutions. I wish I had more ideas. I mean, I can come on and talk about what you can do to help prepare for yourself and what you can do to help prepare for your family. But in reality, the people controlling this planet, they are subscribed to this Lucifer model. And I know it might be offensive for some to keep hearing that over and over again. But what better way to describe where we are? From a religious standpoint, or from just the thought or the image that using that terminology, Lucifer, drums up. It is leading the world to hell, plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean, and look at yourself in the mirror. I mean, not just personally, but look at the society that you live in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror and imagine the society behind you. Does that society look like it's a society of good, or does it look like it's a society of evil? So how do we exorcise this evil out of the system? We have to acknowledge that it exists in ourselves and in our political systems. And we have to acknowledge it in our past and then move forward towards the light. Lucifer, a principle, may be offensive to people, but that is, if you want to think about it in biblical terms, think of this as a rapture moment. End of day.
Yeah, well, it's amazing to me, Warren. It's amazing to me. You're in New York. You're in New York. You're about as far away from me as you can possibly get, and I'll even go further than that. I mean, there's people listening right now in Germany and England who have the same thought process that we do, and maybe a couple years ago, maybe 10 years ago, in some cases, Tim from Seattle's holding. I'm going to bring him on in a second, and maybe he woke up, 20 years ago. The idea is that the people who are waking up are all in the same frame of thought. That it starts with me. You got to look in the mirror. Excuse me, and you have to realize the system we live in is a charade. Go ahead.
And look at the value system. I mean, I'll give you three things that America thinks of her value. First of all, we had the Super Bowl, and next week, that's a value. That's the biggest thing that ever hit America in the last week. It's absolutely irrelevant. Totally irrelevant to the world, totally irrelevant to your future. You want to have some entertainment, it's the same as a movie. Let's not, if you want a sin is making that Super Bowl more important than it is. You talk about our culture, Facebook. The creator of Facebook did it to rank girls at his university in terms of how they look. Now it's coming around to roost. He is being stalked on his own and his own technology. The founder, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, is being stalked by Facebook. Please, I've disabled my account on Facebook. I would urge you to do the same. Stop talking to people about nonsense and start to talk to people about the truth, about where they are in society. They're going to look at you and look down, get nervous, walk away, become silent, but not know how to respond to you, but talk to them nevertheless and get them away from the Lucifer principle. The third thing you should look at on YouTube, type in Radio Shack, look at a commercial called The Big Trip. It's a cat and a dog commercial where they have this cat and this dog representing the American people who are so dumbed down and so pathetically stupid, who are in the middle of their own intellectual detritus. The shit of intellect is what America has become, and they are only concerned about texting and messaging and talking to each other about mindless things. And this commercial, the Radio Shack commercial, the Big Trip, Super Bowl commercial, shows you just how pathetic American culture has become. Only having no face whatsoever. And that's where we are. The Lucifer principle has a hold on you so tight, and it's time for you to cast that evil out and think about forward-looking future before it's too late. Your family survival depends on it. Enough talking to people about how things work. Enough talking to people about what people think about mainstream media. Enough talking about all these different news items that have no overview. You want the overview? Your personal survival is at stake. Your leaders are leading you down the garden path to hell. And that's where we are, according to the Lucifer principle.
I just typed "Go Warren, go" in the chat room. You sound like Reverend Warren, and I am a member of the congregation. Amen to that. All right, Tim's been holding for a minute. I cleared whatever was attacking me there. So, Tim, are you there? Tim from Seattle?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Thanks for the call.
Okay, I wanted to disagree with Warren. I think what we're looking at is really the end. We've been beat. In other words, I've played this chess game a long time, and they have the technology, they have the weapons, they have the money. There's something in man which is going to prevent us from surviving. I mean, you just wave balls or boobs or baubles in front of us, and we're just not going to make it. Every single structure within this society to bring man up, a systemic failure, whether it's lawyers, judges, cops, pastors, the intellectuals, the scholars, every single thing is broke down. And I think what we're really looking at now is just a matter of survival. I mean, there's 25,000 babies that die of hunger every day. I mean, we're not pulling out of this. These people their networks there are too many dark networks. They got too much money. The technology, the weaponry, the chemical warfare, basically.
Tim, unfortunately, Tim, and I'm going to let Warren respond. I tend to agree that when we talk about this principle, it isn't that we're tiptoeing into it; we're coming to the painful end of it. And I don't know that Warren is suggesting otherwise. But that being said, a mass awakening, a shift in humanity, truly, in my opinion, is the only way an outcome satisfactory to the survival of humanity in our current condition is possible. Without that, I mean, I don't have to guess what's coming. I can look what's coming on an economic scale. 50, 60, 70% of whatever you can scrape together so you can eat food for one day. Total destruction of the ability to take the raw materials off this planet and feed and house and keep warm the 7 billion people on it. Something's got to give, and it's about to give. So, I'm going to let Warren speak to that now. I think basically, Tim, you're saying...
I don't disagree with you. I mean, I don't disagree with you that the forces of destruction for the human condition in the United States are all there. And as I've said in the trajectories, just thinking to myself, I'm like, what positive trajectory has any politician put us on in the last 12 years? What is the one, instead of just trying to sustain domestic security or trying to sustain where we are in terms of our economic condition and losing ground on both fronts, what has been done to positively improve the prospects of Americans going forward, and what has been done to improve the prospects of the world going forward? So, last week on this show, I said that I made the connection, perhaps quantitative easing was a cause of the Egyptian crisis because it caused food prices to increase.
Right.
Guess what Dylan Ratigan said a week later with his guest Bill Fleckenstein? What do they say? A week later.
The quantitative easing causes. They reiterated your prediction, which was quantitative easing is the reason why we have rampant inflation in food.
Right, 1 week later. So that tells me that some people in the mainstream media are, even though these guys are on the fringe of it, are seeing more clearly what this breakdown crisis is looking like. So they're looking at it and say, maybe there's a connection between monetary policy and the availability of food. Well, guess what? Maybe this thing called integration, which is what gets food on the table from around the world to your house, is in the process of breaking down. When are they going to come up with that conclusion? And when are we going to start to demand integrity? We can turn the tide very quickly by demanding integrity from everyone. But the forces in place want to fight integrity with every tooth and nail. They don't want to declare bankruptcy for the banks. They don't want to admit our energy condition. They don't want to confront Monsanto over the fact that they're destroying the family farm. They don't want to confront the farmer with the poison eggs. And they want to regulate small farmers and make it more difficult for them. So that's the condition that we're in. So what's going to happen if the Lucifer principle wins out? Things are going to get terrible. It's terrible in the United States. It will be a despicable condition. Despicable. Beyond the horror that anyone can imagine in this country.
I agree. Tim, did you have something else you wanted to add?
Yeah, what I'm saying, Warren, is that your coinage of the Luciferian principle, it's already won. There's nothing that's going to stop this. They've got control of the media. They have the money. They have everything. You don't understand. The whole reason I'm calling is that everybody ought to stop thinking that that Ron Paul's going to pull it out. I watched him in South Carolina snatch $30 million and withdraw from the presidency because, quote unquote, his district was in it. I mean, there's no honor. I think what we're in, this world is a type of purgatory. The more honorable you are, the more you want to do right, the worse it's for you. The more evil.
Oh, absolutely. That's a quote from the book.
Yeah,
it's absolutely correct. But
anyway,
the problem is this.
We ought to think about survival.
The problem is this.
The next evolution of talk radio.
Hold up, Tim. Tim, hold up one sec. I'll give you plenty of time. Go ahead, Warren.
As an individual, a great deal of your existence is in the context of what is around you. And when that context breaks, all that's around you is what geographically is around you. And if you're among the minority of us that could, survive in that limited geography, more credit to you. But for the vast Americans, they're not going to stand a chance to live through this. They're not going to stand a chance to live through this.
Tim, I don't think Warren's in disagreement. Tim, I don't think Warren's... No, I'm not. I don't think you two are on two different pages at all. I think you're on the exact same page.
Yeah, I just think everybody ought to start thinking about survival and how they're going to die, because, that's what it's looking like to me.
I'd rather fight that trend. And the way to fight it is to start to demand integrity and to start, to not accept these lies. And we accept lies on a daily basis. We accept lies on the justification for going into Iraq. We accept lies by Obama creating 3 million, 4 million jobs. We could see that the old weekly unemployment claims used to be 350,000. Now they're 450,000. That means we're losing 1 million jobs a year, at least. Mm-hmm. And we're not even replacing them. And this is when he's saying we have job growth. So it's ludicrous. So we need just to start to turn the tide. And we need to start to demand integrity, because the alternative is worse. And we can take a fatalistic approach and say it's over, but I'd rather go out fighting, frankly.
Yeah, I was just going to say that exact same thing. And Tim, your view is understandable, absolutely understandable. But I agree with Warren that. As a matter of fact, I said to him in the beginning of the show we're not dabbling in this Luciferian principle. We're in it. We're at the end of it. And I don't disagree that the outcome is going to be, the end of this is going to be disaster for the human race. I think it is going to be that. But until that day happens, as I've said before, until that caldera 90 miles away from me goes up, I'm going to do everything in my power, which is very limited, but I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing in order to, at least have the chance to try to affect some change. But I can't disagree, to be intellectually honest, I cannot disagree with your point of view. I just choose to embrace reality, and we both embracing the same reality. I choose to embrace it in my way, which is to get on here every night, to get on YouTube as much as I possibly can, to state my point of view and the reason I believe what I believe, and hope that integrity will win out, hope that the truth will win out. But I'm not optimistic, and I'm also not naive. I understand that the outcome more than likely is going to be a shock to most people and deadly to most people, not only in this country but around the world. Tim, I want to give you something else to say before we run out of time. So if you have something else, please share. Okay, I think we might have... Tim, did we lose you, or did you lose me?
Well, Charlie, I mean, you and I have had this talk offline, that you and I are expendable containers in this struggle for integrity, in this struggle for positive change. And if we're going to be expendable containers to the system, then we might as well stick up for something. That's my thing.
Well, I agree, and there's nights I lay down and I'm like, why do I do this? Why bother? Why bother? It's all going to end the same. But then I think to myself, you know what, Warren, 100 years from now, 50 years from now, you and I, we're not going to exist on this planet anymore. So regardless if I do anything, if I do something or if I do nothing, the end is coming my way, and I'll face it alone my way. But I choose to do this. I choose to speak out. I choose to say something, to do something. I mean, the easy path is to melt into the matrix, I guess, is one way to put it. Just to take part in society as it's presented. But to do that, knowing what I know, being awake, as I claim to be, to do that would be an absolute disingenuous thing to do for myself and my family, for anybody I care about, for humanity as a whole. It would be a cop-out, and it would be a way for me just to escape the reality. I'd be no better off than the guy who's sucking it up the suds on Sunday, watching the Super Bowl, loving the commercials and waiting for the GoDaddy.com girls to get on there so he could get his jollies. There's no difference. If I ignore what's going on and ignore the urge I have to speak out, then I'm no different, no better than anybody else that we call sheeple. And Tim, I don't know if you hung up or if we cut you off. If we cut you off, I did not mean to. I wanted to give you a few more minutes. Outstanding call, as always. So, Warren, 3 minutes left. Wrap it up. I mean, this has been a pretty intense show for me anyway.
I'm just saying, in the video previous to that, which people just hated when I talked about the politics of the zeitgeist, they want to hold on to the current context. And the current context is what all the things that our society is right now. And it's ideology, it's political structure, financial structure, monetary structure, legal structure, social structure, military empire. People don't want to even acknowledge that exists, that they're getting oil cheaply because the aircraft carriers are all deployed around the world. They want to put that two and two together. They don't want to talk about transportation, goods coming from around the world. They don't want to talk realistically about your own labor value compared to other people. All of those assumptions are what makes our society, and those things are in the process of breaking down, leaving us only what is geographically local to us. We have to buy time. We have to buy enough time to rework the system, and we need to build awareness. The way to do that is to start to talk about integrity, to start demanding integrity, to demand integrity from our politicians, to confront them when they're lying, not to support them. Do not give any of them money. Do not pay money to the Democrats. Do not pay money to the Republicans. Do not endorse them. Do not think that they're going to talk about or represent you, and start to marginalize these criminal organizations. And it's a race against time. We need to build awareness. Talk to your friends, even though they'll look down, they'll look away. Talk to your family, and start to ask them questions. Is what you're seeing the truth? Get them to start to read books. Get them away from Facebook. Close your Facebook account. Get rid of social media. Stop your children from texting on the cell phones. Get them to think about themselves and where they're going. Get them out of business school and get them into schools that will give them practical skills for the future. If the brilliant ones, get them into things like engineering. Your children, get them into things that are tangible, plumbing, electricity, farming. Get them out of college. Get them into things which are tangible and understandable and useful in the future. Don't let them get that business degree because they have the illusion of being a superstar in Goldman Sachs. That world isn't going to be there for them. And we need to change the system very, very rapidly. The only ones that want to change the system right now are the Vietnam era people who just want to dance around and have a love fest in America. Those are like the two or three that are left of them. And the alternate to that are all the politicians that were able to get deferments from the draft. Notice how Bush served in the National Guard. Notice how Clinton got deferments endlessly. They're doing the same thing, deferring the reckoning for our financial malaise. They're deferring the economic collapse. And this can only work so far. This deferment will not hold. The culture will not hold. And the hero generation, our new generation, are going to be sacrificed. Their lives are going to be lost. Your children's lives are at stake, and they're going to be lost. You better wake your children up quickly, or they're going to be expendable containers. If you lose your life, it's not that important. If your child's life is lost, how would you feel about that? Because that's where they're going to go. Be lost, sacrificed to the superorganism, sacrificed to the Lucifer principle.
Warren, if you weren't recording this to rebroadcast it on YouTube, then I wish you would have been, or maybe I'll implore you to pull the archive and rebroadcast it because, man, you know what you just said that last 3 minutes there, speechless. You know, you're 100% correct. I could not agree with you more if I wanted to, and I could not have put it better. Warren Pollock, thank you very much. I appreciate, as always, your insight, your overview, and you know, I'm grateful. For one, I'm grateful that we have you out there, you know, consistently putting out this quality information, standing up for what you believe in, speaking out. Even though you know the system is broken, you know where we're headed, you don't give up. You keep out there. You keep pounding the message, and you know, bless you for that. Warren Pollock, WEPollock.com, WE Pollock on YouTube. Great show, Warren. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'll see you next Monday. Everybody stay tuned because Jeff Rintz is coming up next. I'll be back tomorrow night with Gabe from Austin Rare Coin. We'll see you tomorrow night, same time.